Hello again. Let's continue our pearl talk. Last time we explored its history, why it was treasured, how it was harvested and imitated, and its current status. Today we will delve further into this fascinating topic. Looking back to ancient times, humanity has always been closely tied to the sea. Many coastal tribes lived off shellfish, and occasionally they would find a lustrous gem inside an oyster. This shiny herb naturally captured human attention. However, such discoveries were rare. Take ancient Egypt, for example. Archaeological evidence shows pearls were highly prized there, yet demand far outstripped supply. Egypt was more focused on internal development, expanding along the fertile Nile rather than overseas. As a result, their interaction with maritime trade was limited. Consequently, evidence of highly valuable pearl jewelry has only been found in pharaohs' tombs, indicating that pearls were incredibly expensive. That doesn't mean that there were no fake pearls among the common folk. As we learned before, even pharaohs could be deceived, though that tale involved amber. Check out the first episode to know why. Anyway, pearls were indeed one of the most valued gems, ranking them as the most expensive until the 18th century. Why they lost that spot during the 18th century is a story we will get into a bit later. As for why pearls were among the most expensive gems, we have already covered in the first episode. You will find the link in the description below the video. Be sure to check that out. So, returning to our topic. As I mentioned, pearls were not widely available for Egypt for a long time, at least not until the Greeks arrived. When Alexander the Great, Alexander son of Philip, conquered Asia and reached the borders of India, he managed to establish a pearl trade route back to west, including Egypt. So before the Ptolemies, Egypt had little access to high-quality pearls in sufficient quantities. As for India, on the other hand, pearls were abundant and of an excellent quality. They remained highly valued, and it was customary among the wealthy people to wear numerous, heavy, luxurious strands of pearls as a symbol of their prosperity. A historical example is the Battle of Mana, fought between India, Persia, and the Arabs over the control of pearl-rich territories. To put it in perspective, this wasn't a petty skirmish over shiny trinkets, it was akin to fighting over the oil field because, at that time, pearls represented immense wealth. Whoever controlled access to these pearl sources also had access to vast fortunes and economic power. These sources of immense wealth were particularly significant at the time, and until the 16th century, the pearl trade was primarily controlled by the Arabs and Persians. However, for the next 100 years, it fell under Portuguese control, making a major shift in the dynamic of the trade. Among the people of the Mediterranean, the Phoenicians were the first to take a keen interest in pearls. Homer even mentions this in his works from the 8th century BCE, highlighting their early fascination with these precious items. So, in the Odyssey, Penelope is gifted several pearls resembling mulberries. And as we know, mulberries have irregular shapes, suggesting that pearls were not perfectly round. Moreover, the description hints at dark-colored pearls. This allows us to infer that dark pearls were known even back then. Today, black and dark gray pearls with a lustrous sheen is primarily found in Latin America or Tahiti. There are also mentions in the accounts of Alexander the Great campaign. Aristotle advised him to capture the island of Socotra before advancing into India because it was a source of rare dark pearls. Alexander was particularly fond of these pearls. He combined them with pink and white pearls and sent the collection back to Greece as a tribute showcasing the appreciation of this exquisite treasure. Everyone quickly jumped on the trend. trying to get their hands on similar sets of black, white, and pink pearls, and that was indeed a true fashion statement of the time. Interestingly, it seems our tastes align with those of Alexander the Great and Aristotle, as we at Synergems are also big fans of black pearls, as you can see. An interesting fact, in the meanwhile, one of the reasons the Romans invaded Britain was to gain access to shores rich in pearl-bearing oysters. Unfortunately, they exploited these oysters ruthlessly, eventually driving them to extinction in those areas. Oysters are delicate creatures, and their survival is easily threatened by improper handling and over-harvesting, which the Romans failed to manage sustainably. One thing is for sure, they were absolutely enamored with pearls. Just like many other cultures throughout the history, the Roman called pearls margarita, which translates to beloved, something what I adore most. And the most unique specimens were known as unio. The word unio was used referring to exceptionally beautiful and unparalleled pearls. This term is closely tied to the word of unique. So thanks to the pearls, we got a new word. Another intriguing legend about Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Those two had a bet on who could host the most lavish banquet. Cleopatra confidently claimed she would easily outdo Antony. However, when he arrived, the feast seemed quite ordinary, and Antony boasted that he could prepare a table 10,000 times more splendid. But at the end of the dinner, Cleopatra removed a priceless unique pearl from her ear, dropped it into the glass of wine, and there it supposedly dissolved. After that, downed it in one gulp, effectively drinking what would worth billions today. Of course, the pearl could not dissolve in wine. It could only dissolve in pure concentrated vinegar, so either Cleopatra pulled a clever trick, or this story is just a legend after all. Or perhaps she had unbelievably strong stomach, managing to drink concentrated vinegar with the dissolved pearl without even flinching. This legend still might be rooted, though, in an ancient actual practice. Among the wealthy people in Greece, China, Rome, Egypt, everywhere basically, it was believed that anything extraordinarily valuable must also have medicinal properties. As a result, the most precious materials, jade in China, pearls in Europe, and even gold, were sometimes ground into powder, mixed into drinks, and consumed. The idea was that the more expensive substance, whether pearl, gel, or powdered gold, you ingested, the healthier and younger you would become. Perhaps Cleopatra simply had a servant grind the large expensive pearl into powder, mixed it with wine, and drank in that way. Many Roman women indeed did the same thing at feast, consuming what would be equivalent to $3 million worth of pearls in today's money. The crowd would applaud and cheer, congratulating her on how clever and beautiful and wealthy she was. According to the legend, though, about Cleopatra, the pearl's value was recorded as 10 million sesterces. We consulted some experts, and it turns out that one sesterce, that time, was equivalent to 327 grams of gold. That amounts to around $26,000. Now multiply it by 10 million and you will imagine how much Cleopatra casually drank in one go. So we have had a bit of fun debunking the myth about Cleopatra. So let's keep the ball rolling and see how pearls were glimmering through this history. We have already mentioned Alexander the Great, the man who first opened the gates for pearls import from India. Thanks to him, Greece and later on Rome went positively pearl mad. With the vast wealth from the Roman Empire, they could afford to embellish everything with pearls, and I mean everything. It wasn't just jewelry like multi-strand necklaces and earrings. Soon they were decorating dishes and furniture with pearls too. And that's pretty extravagant and costly, right? It's like it's like deciding to bling out your kitchen cabinet with Burmese pigeon blood rubies, which are outrageously expensive. There are stories and even evidence that women wore such huge pearl earrings that over a few years their earlobes stretched all the way down to their shoulders. And there is a story about Julius Caesar who gifted a pearl worth over a million sesterces to the mother of Marcus Brutus. Like the Cleopatra legend, the price might be a bit of overstatement, but you get an idea. Moving on, there is evidence that Emperor Aurelian adorned his imperial crown with pearls, which says a lot about their value and appeal. Pearls were also an essential part of weddings, used to bind newlyweds together as a symbol of marital fidelity. And there is also a tale of Caligula's wife pearl necklace, allegedly valued at 8 million sesterces. Now, the figure might be a bit unrealistic, like in the case of Cleopatra, but it sure makes for a great story. Emperor Caligula himself, as you might recall, wasn't exactly known for his sanity. When he appointed his horse to the rank of consul, he also gifted his beloved steed a precious pearl necklace, just like the one he gave to his favorite wife. Imagine that sight. In other words, as you can see, the Romans were seriously obsessed with pearls. So much so that at one point there was a trade imbalance between gold and pearls because Romans were trading all their gold for pearls. The turning point, though, came in Roman history with the attack of the Vandals and the Gauls from the north. These guys were pretty unsophisticated and had no clue about the value of pearls. For them, the main priorities were food, shelter, clothing, women, and maybe a little bit of gold. Consequently, Rome's pearls reserves were scattered worldwide. Additionally, their value diminished for a while due to the degradation caused by the northern barbarians' invasions. There are even intriguing tales of some lads finding and killing former high-ranking Roman officials or aristocrats. These Romans, they, fleeing with their most precious belongings, often carried a pouch of pearls. When that simple goal caught up with them, they would expect to find gold inside the pouch, but finding only strange round bits, they would toss the pearl aside, keeping the leather pouch, because that's obviously a bit more valuable, right? There were many such stories which are recorded in the history. The devaluation of pearls didn't last long, only about 100 to 150 years, until the Renaissance, where they triumphantly returned to the stage. During the Renaissance period, pearls came back in vogue much like in Roman times. People were literally draped in pearls, managing to sew up, like Medici the Queen, 30,000 pearls onto a single dress. And remember, pearls are quite heavy. Just imagine how much that dress must have weighed. Even the famous Columbus, on his trips to America, brought back not just gold, but also several bags of pearls, which he traded for off the coast of Venezuela. This marked the beginning of the third wave of pearl popularity. But enough talk, let's look at some pictures, and I will show you that it's not just a fairy tale, there are actual historical examples to check out. Here is illustration number 1. As you can see, we have an Indian gentleman or a lady, hard to tell from the portrait, absolutely draped in pearls. And as we know, India has long been rich in pearls, so there is no doubt that the jewelry depicted were real. Next, we have illustration number 2, which shows us another wealthy, young and very beautiful pair, both absolutely covered in pearls from head to toe. Clearly, this pair is portrayed as affluent. Moving on, here is a photo of an earring from the Historical Museum of Crete. And this earring features natural pearls from Crete. Notice that the pearl is irregular in shape, not because of age, but because not all ancient pearls were perfectly round. This debunks the myth that pearls become cracked and misshapen over time. As you can see, this one has retained its shape through the centuries. Next, we have a portrait of a very famous gentleman. This is none other than Count Dracula, also known as Vlad the Impaler. He is famous for leading a rebellion against Turkish oppression. Of course, the Turks might have painted him as a villain, but there is another story. Look at his magnificent hat. Considering that these perfectly matched pearls are all natural, since pearl farming didn't exist yet, we can immediately tell that he was a highly respected man. And here we have a portrait from Renaissance era that I mentioned earlier. Check out this distinguished gentleman, and there are plenty of portraits like that one. Adorned with 5 strands of the finest pearls, this indicates that he was quite well off. For example, take Thailand, where our company has been for the last 20 years. Here, there was also a moment when people were in love with pearls, and even in ancient time, it was believed that the pearl necklace should be so long that they reached down to the knees, or even better, if you are a respectable woman, to the floor. This is evident in statues and other imagery. Next one is a sample of the earrings with emeralds and pearls, which has been found on the territory of modern Turkey. That's where they used to mine some emeralds back in time when it was an ancient Greece there. However, this deposit has been long gone. Here is yet another portrait of highly esteemed person. As you can see, pearls adorn almost every element and of his attire from head to toe. This is further proof that pearls and status went hand on hand. And this photo we took ourselves at the museum. Here we can see the strand of pearls from the Roman period, and you can see with your own eyes they are in excellent condition, looking as if they were just collected. Here is another piece from the same museum, possibly part of a bracelet. Notice that the pearls are of varying sizes, uneven and uncalibrated, because only the ultra-wealthy could afford perfectly matched pearls. To find a strand of pearls that match perfectly, you would have to sift through tens of thousands of tons of pearl oysters. Let's have a look at another couple of the exhibits from the same collection. Here we'll have some earrings, and yes, they look heavy. That is why the ladies from the Roman Empire had very long ears, by the way, if you remember our conversation in the beginning of this episode. And we have a cute ring. Well, I would wear that even nowadays. Look, nothing wrong with that. And the pearl, surprise, surprise, still look exactly like they're supposed to. So the myth about pearl being wasted after a few years is just a myth. Next, again ladies, again with pearls from the Renaissance era. According to our contemporaries, in the Renaissance, the use of pearls knew no bounds. Every ball basically became a competition to see who could wear the most kilograms of pearls on their dress. Of course, you might argue that portraits are just that. An artist could embellish for the sake of beauty. However, there is a catch. Often in museums, we find jewelry exhibits that perfectly match what's depicted in the portrait, suggesting that the jewelry literally existed as shown. Besides, we know that such portraits were displayed prominently in Europe's grand halls for all to see. Imagine inviting your aristocratic friends over for dinner and they see a portrait of you, trapped in pearls from head to toe, but in reality you are broke. It would be like posting a photo of Ferrari on Instagram to impress your friends who know you actually ride a bicycle. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this bit of pearls history. Next time we will look into a bit more technical details. In the meanwhile, take care and goodbye.